Action. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Deeply Rooted podcast, brought to you by VodPod Media. I am your host, Kevin. You'll also hear our producer, Gylan, chime in from time to time just to keep me on track because I tend to go off on many tangents, and if I don't have someone keep me in check, then I'll never finish what I'm supposed to be doing. Basically, I'm here to share with you my life experiences. As many of you guys know or have been following me for some time, I am in a wheelchair, but things haven't always been this way. Let me get back in place. And so while a lot of things in my life changed, there's a lot of things that helped me, get to where I am today and help me overcome a lot of those life obstacles. Life doesn't come with a set of instructions or anything like that, so we just kind of have to figure it out. And while I was, I had a period of time where I just didn't know what was going to happen. I was really vulnerable and a lot of things like that. I've been able to overcome. And, it wasn't all me by myself, even though I'm the one that's, doing these things, daily. I did, the importance of having a community around you and people that support you is really important. Can really help you, overcome any obstacle that you're facing. If you just allow yourself to be vulnerable and talk about these things with people, and even if they may not be going through the same things that you're going or have gone through the same things that you're going, just having someone, to lend an ear or give you a voice of any kind of opinion is great. So with that said, I'd like to start off by reading you the mission statement for Deeply Rooted. I'm going to be reading it verbatim. It's something I'm working on because I don't have it memorized. It's pretty long, and I just got to get this out there to you guys. So the mission statement goes: Deeply Rooted is committed to creating a space where profound and difficult discussions about life's inherent challenges can unfold. We seek to confront and explore the difficult subjects many find hard to voice, cultivating a forum for sincere and purposeful dialogue. Drawing from my own transition from a life of mobility and service as a veteran in the U.S. Air Force to navigating the realm of paralysis, I aim to offer a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Life's trials are inevitable, and while setbacks are part of the journey, it is through disciplined effort and steadfast determination that we rise and advance. Our mission is to provide insights into enduring adversity with grace, to share practical methods for coping, and to furnish resources for those in need. Deeply Rooted stands as a beacon of steadfast resolve, demonstrating that through perseverance and unwavering commitment, we can confront life's hardships and move toward a horizon of hope and renewal. Okay, so basically, with that said, what I'm looking forward to accomplishing in Forward Podcast is just sharing experiences, things that I'm doing on a weekly basis, things that, lessons that I learn, obstacles that I have to overcome, and just any kind of thing that's helping me get along the way, whether it's a nonprofit that's providing resources for sports or activities or medications or anything like that. While I got hurt and I was in the hospital alone, I genuinely felt alone, but it wasn't until I started to branch out and share my story a little bit and meet people along the way, even though it's on the internet and I wasn't meeting them face to face all the time. It genuinely helped me. It helped me, and it showed me, or it resonated with me so much that I feel that I have to do this. One of my favorite lines from Jordan Peterson is off his book, 12 Rules for Life. And it says, notice that opportunity lies where responsibility has been abdicated. And that's where I feel like it is right now. So while I'm not like an influencer or a content creator, I feel like I've gone through so many things in my life where, I can share this with somebody and maybe they can, get some closure, get some clarity, find that inspiration, that motivation to keep moving forward, because it's not easy. 100%, this is not easy. But, while you're still alive, while you wake up, there's still an opportunity for you to overcome whatever it is that you're going through. And I know it's not easy, but with the right mindset, with the right people around you, you can overcome anything. Okay, So
So
like
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait. We often hear that, right?
Right.
You can overcome anything. So what are a few things that you've overcome?
All right, so yeah, I was gonna get into this next. So next,
Okay.
I'm going into. Thank you, Galen. Next, I'm going into a little bit of my background, and in there, it'll come out. You know, some of the things will be noticeable what I had to overcome. So to start, you know, I was born in California. I'm a first generation American. Both my parents immigrated from here, and my mom's now American citizen. You know, but it was a rough path. You know, I had a single parent household, just like many people, and you know that has its own challenges too. And then from there, you know, I made not having a positive father figure or a male role model in my life. I obviously as I got older, I started to get a little bit more rebellious, a little bit more testy, and I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. You know, like I played sports my whole life and I was disciplined in that sense, but when it came down to other things, once I hit middle school and high school, I was like really impressionable, right? So not having that male positive father figure in my life, I just wanted to be like the people I saw on TV, whether it was like athletes or rappers or whatever the case may be. That's what I wanted to be. That's what I aspired to be. So I started to find my way in life and become a little bit more rebellious, and it leads to a lot of mistakes. The first major obstacle that I would say that I had to overcome, aside from navigating life as a young man without that father figure, was I had a kid when I was in high school, and that was I don't know, I don't want to call it a wake-up call, but it was something that really changed my life, in the sense that I'm not just living for myself now, so I had to make a lot of tough life choices. And to start, I knew that I couldn't go the community college route or the route that a lot of my friends went, because personally I just didn't have that experience, that discipline to stay focused in school, work a full-time job to take care of my family, and give my son the quality of life that I would have liked them to have.
Is that something at that time you even knew you wanted to do? Did you want to take that path, or
It's as far as what?
like what your other friends were doing and everything else like that? Did you even see that path, or was it just women?
Well, it was a little bit of both. So it was like women, for sure. I mean, I'm a teenager full of hormones, and just trying to make it through. But I really wanted to play sports. So I played soccer my whole life, and then in high school I played football. So it was I think it's every young athlete's dream to play at the next level. So whether it be community college or even like a actual university, it doesn't matter if it's D1, D2, D3, it doesn't matter. It was like, oh man, like that's done. It's not in the cards for me. One, I wasn't a good student. I was a lazy student, is what I should say. I have the capability or the capacity to have good grades, to hopefully like go to college, but I was just lazy, and I didn't do what had to be done. So at that point, once I knew I was having a kid, it was like, it's not about me now, and I know how my life was, and so I didn't want to bring up my kid the same way. I had to change something, and so what I ended up doing was I joined the military at that point.
So your kid forced you to join the military?
He didn't force me. It was already there, because I had seen some of my friends going, the college route, community college, trade school, working with their families if they had like a family business. And one of my friends' older brothers went to join the Air Force. And initially I was like, I could be a Marine, or I could go to the Army, or those were like my top two options. But I was like, well, I don't want to deploy that much. I want to be around my kid. I want to be present in his life. And so I joined the Air Force. And at first it wasn't received well by my family. No one in my family wanted to do it. My dad really didn't say much, but I didn't really have a really close relationship with my dad coming up. But my mom was like against it. My uncles and my aunts, they were against it. Whatever stigma is present, the military carries for Hispanic families and stuff like that. But that's neither here nor there. That's exactly what I did. And, after a while, they understood. They understood that I wasn't doing this for any kind of malicious reason or with malicious intent. I just wanted to be a good father and get ahead in life, because I knew that what I was doing at the time just wasn't working. It wasn't working at all. And so I had to make a change. And I'm glad that I made the change, because while I was in the military, I did have discipline instilled in me. I was in the military for 8 years, almost 9 years. And I learned a lot. A lot. During that time, I deployed 3 times in 5 years. My body got jacked up, but I loved deploying. While I was stateside, it was good. I liked it. I got opportunities to do things like Airman Leadership School, take other courses that would set me up in my career, and I got a lot of different opportunities and experiences. But my favorite was deploying, just because of the simple fact that the camaraderie out there is unmatched. I don't think I've ever experienced anything like it. You're so tight-knit. Everyone out there, whether your personalities match or jive or anything like that, it's like you put all that aside when it comes down to the mission. You got to do the mission. You got to work on that. So now, I'm just a young dude from California, and I'm working with people from all around the country, and maybe even sometimes from other countries. So it gave me a lot of experience, and I learned a lot of valuable lessons, not just for myself, but on how to be a leader, how to keep morale up, how to distribute forces, and how to respond to intense situations. And yeah, it was a really good experience overall. But during that time, that's when my health started to deteriorate. So the reason I got out of the military was I was medically retired. After my last deployment in 2016, it was from 2015 to 2016 in Afghanistan, and I came back and I just started to deal with multiple issues, and they just kept snowballing. And then I started to fall into bad habits myself, just picking up bad coping mechanisms. I started to drink a lot, and then...
So you were having pain?
I was having back pain. I had back pain. I have a laundry list of things. So I have a laundry list of issues. I don't want to go into too many specifics, but obviously the most relevant one is going to be my spinal cord injury. But that didn't happen until 2 years after I got out of the military. So basically, I was medically retired. I had all my laundry list. It was a huge list of diagnosis, but.
Can you give us like 3?
3?
Yeah, give us the top 3.
The bilateral shoulder impingements, bilateral hip impingements. At the time I was diagnosed with the lumbar back issues, so like L1, L2, S1. And so it was just like a lot of physical therapy and stuff like that. But I didn't let that hold me down. It was just one of those things where it was like, okay, so I can't do my job. And the reason I was medically retired was because I couldn't arm up anymore and I couldn't deploy. And so when you're in the military, you need to be worldwide capable, right? So at a moment's notice, if something like World War III kicks off, you need to be able to leave and arm up and defend the country. That's what you signed up for. And I couldn't do that anymore. So basically, I wasn't of use for the military anymore. I mean, that's just plain and simple. And it makes sense because realistically, if I can't arm up or do anything, it's like, why am I even in? I mean, that's what that's a huge part of why I joined, because there was some sort of satisfaction that came from that, being the first person in my family to join the military. I hold that with high regard. That's really meaningful and impactful for me, because I look at that as something that really changed my life for the better.
So how did that feel? How did you feel knowing that you had to be discharged?
Oh man, so it was good and bad, because at the time, and then I deal with this a lot, and when I talk to my friends that have gone out, or anyone else that served that I meet along the way, it's like, while you're at the time, you hate it. There's things you hate so much, because they're mandatory, right? Mandatory fun. We like to do, and that's when you get voluntold to do things, or someone in your unit pops hot for some sort of narcotic, and then you're waking up at 3 a.m. getting recalled to the unit to go do your analysis to make sure that you're not doing narcotics, and we're doing it for the whole unit, and this happens, time to time to time. I was security forces in the Air Force, so that's the biggest career field in the Air Force. And so with that comes a lot of problems. You have people from all walks of life. Some people want to be there, some people don't want to be there, and you just make it work. And so it's a really good opportunity in that sense. But I was happy that I felt like I was getting some sort of closure, because I was like, okay, these are your diagnoses. We know that you can't do this, so all right, we're gonna find you a way forward. All right, cool, that's good. But once you're out of the military, and especially if you don't prepare, it's so difficult, because you go from being so regimented. So like, I have to be at work at this time. And I know, like, we all have jobs, or like most of us have jobs, and you set your alarm, you wake up, and you're like, maybe you're not feeling well, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna call into work today, or I'm gonna use a sick day, or like anything. You have those resources available to you. But in the military, it's like, you can't just call your supervisor and especially for security forces. I don't know how it is for other career fields, but it's like, you can't just be like, oh, hey, I'm not going to work today. I feel under the weather. Or, hey, I want to put in for leave today, the day of. Like, that stuff doesn't fly in the military. So in that sense, it was like having all this free time, and like having to rely on myself to be disciplined, and not having my support group, my friends. That stuff is difficult. You're just starting all over. It's interesting, but I'm definitely happy I made it through that, and got over that initial confusion and being lost a little bit when things first came up. But yeah.
So you got out the military, got a kid. Things were going really good, but having all these ailments. Tell us, like, what these ailments started leading to.
Okay, so I wouldn't say that things were getting good. I think things were getting better, because some of the stuff that happened while I was facing these challenges, and I didn't have anything. So again, I developed bad coping techniques. I was drinking a lot, and so I was dealing with a lot of mental health stuff. And I went to therapy, and I just put in a lot of work. So it taught me, I really relied on that to kind of be like, okay, wow, this situation, like my health isn't great. Things are getting better. I still have the opportunity to like keep pushing forward and find a way forward. So at that time, I decided to go work air conditioning. So I went to a technical school, vocational technical school, where I learned the trade of air conditioning. And I was doing that for some time, just under 2 years, or maybe around 2 years. And I felt like things were getting so much better. I felt so good learning a new job. I love working with my hands. So it was really cool going from, being structured and being in the military to being a little bit more independent, having this job. And what really made me happy about working air conditioning was being of service to other people. Because in the military, it was like I was of service to the nation as a whole, right? But it's not what we think, or at least what I thought of when I was there, but I was of service to my teammates, the people on my fire team, the people on my squad. And it was things slowly started to get worse. And it was like the back pain started to increase, and it was always the same thing. Like, all right, so you have a history of back pain, go to your doctor, do some physical therapy. And I was like, all right, cool. And most of the time, though, I didn't really look at it like, oh, my back is hurting, something crazy is going to happen. At no point in time did I think that like I was going to end up in a wheelchair. Things really started to get worse January of 2021. January of 2021, I was at work. I was doing an installation, doing nothing serious. I was just like bent over, cutting a piece of ductboard, which is like a spongy material, nothing crazy. And then I felt a pop and a shock just shoot all the way from the middle of my back down to like my leg, and I buckled. That's never happened to me before, and it was kind of scary. And I couldn't just get up immediately, which like at the time I was just kind of in shock a little bit. I wasn't in excruciating pain yet, but I was like, man, what the heck? I can't get up. What do I do? Like, who do I call? Well, my helper was downstairs. Shout out Ramon. He was downstairs. He comes up, and I'm like, hey, dude, like, I just felt like I just collapsed. I'm in pain, and he was like, oh no, that's not good. And then so we end up having to call my boss because there was like the pain started to set in, and my boss came and picked me up, and I know he wasn't happy, but you know I had to go to the ER, so I went to the ER. While I'm at the ER, they do a series of tests, and I think that this is where things kind of go wrong. They bring me to the room, and they're like, okay, so what happened? What's going on? And so I'm starting to tell them, I was at work. I felt a pop in my back. I buckled all the way down, and I have excruciating back pain and groin pain.
And at this time, you have no idea what's going on.
No idea. I just think it's because I had just dealt with lumbar issues. I'm just thinking that it's just maybe because I work a labor-intensive job that I have to that I'm just dealing with something. But at no point am I thinking like, oh man, like I'm at risk for being paralyzed, or I don't know the extent of the issues. Yeah.
Okay, keep on.
Yeah,
I'm just listening to the story.
okay, all right. So I get taken to the back, and I'm explaining to them these issues, and they're like, okay, so back pain and then groin pain, and it was like my testicles. And so basically they take a look at my medical record, and they say, okay, we know you have a history of back pain. Let's take a look at this groin pain. And so they wanted to rule out testicular torsion. So they take me back, and they do an ultrasound on my groin. And so basically they're looking and making sure that, the testicles aren't wrapped around each other, so it cuts off circulation, and then you're at risk to lose the testicle. All that stuff comes back negative. They also conducted an STD test. I don't know why, but they did that. That came back negative. And then after that, they were like, hey, look, all these results came back good. You have a history of back pain. It's peak pandemic. We need the hospital beds for COVID patients. Here's some Motrin. Here's some patches. Follow up with your PCM for physical therapy. So that's what I did. So, for the next 3-4 months, I'm in there just doing physical therapy. I feel like things are getting better. I didn't think much of it. Things definitely didn't get worse at that time. Fast forward to May. The end of May, it was May 28th, 2021. I'm doing a job. Well, I was doing service calls that day, and I noticed that my left leg is starting to act a little funny. At that time, I could still feel everything, but whenever I would take a step, my left ankle would roll over, almost kind of like what you see if you watch MMA and you watch fighters get calf kicked over time. Though once it hits that perennial nerve, they lose control of their when they plant their feet and stepping off and stuff like that. And so I was like, something's not right here. So I called my boss, and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on, blah blah blah. And he's like, hey, you need to finish your job. Like, we don't have anyone else. You need to do this. And of course, at the time, I'm gonna do it because I still I have a family to feed. I gotta put food on the table. At this time, I have my youngest son, so I have 2 kids. So my youngest son was already born, and I'm like, no, I have to provide for my family. And again, I didn't think that my life was at risk. I didn't think that it was gonna be anything crazy at this point, but that's what it was. So I go back to the hospital. There I am at the hospital. They run a series of tests on me, and then they start. Where things get kind of crazy is when they start poking my leg, because I started to lose sensation around my calf, on the outside of my calf. And so they come and they're like, all right, we need you to close your eyes, and I'm going to be poking you with this needle. I need you to tell me if you feel this needle or not. And then so he's poking me in some places where I feel it, and then other places where I don't feel it. And he's like, are you sure you don't feel it? And I'm like, oh, no, I don't. And I'm starting to get a little worried. And so they take me back for an MRI. This time they do it in my thoracic. So previously they had done all my MRIs on my lumbar, and that's where they found impingement. I don't know what, pinched nerve, whatever it is. And they come back really worried, and they're like, "Hey, man, you're hemorrhaging your spinal cord. We need to do surgery like yesterday."
Wow.
Yeah, pretty intense. And so that's what they do. We go in there. They do that surgery. I come out of surgery the next day. It's May 29th. And I'm like, all right, cool. I can still walk. I'm still, I don't feel great, but I'm happy that I'm still walking. And at this point, again, I have no inclination that things are going to end up the way they did.
So what are you thinking? What are you thinking at this moment? Like quickly, like you're like.
So they said that they found signs of old hemorrhaging and new hemorrhaging. So old bleeding and new bleeding. Whatever, the injury had scabbed over multiple times and it just kept rupturing. And so they went in there. They did what's called a laminectomy, and they removed bones from my spine, and went in to embolize whatever was hemorrhaging. So they basically glued where I was bleeding from, and they washed everything out. Okay. So at that point, I'm good. I'm happy to be alive. I don't think that at that point I was like, things are going to get worse. I thought things were done. That's what I got that's the vibe I got from the doctors. But I think going in I think that's Memorial Day weekend, May 30, like that, the weekend of May 31st is Memorial Day weekend. So I talked to multiple doctors, and unfortunately I had multiple doctors operate on me, because 2 days later, I rapidly, I woke up and I was like, oh man, my right leg's starting to lose sensation. So then, I hit the call sign, and the nurses come in, and I give them my symptoms, and then they're like, all right, cool, we'll talk to the doctor. So at this point, since I can still get up and walk under my own power, I am using a walker. I go to the bathroom, I come out, I take a couple steps, and I just collapse. Straight, full weight, like I can't control it. Nothing like that had happened. The collapse was one thing, because I felt a pop, and then it just brought me down to a knee. I still had sensation, but this time I'm over here trying to get up, do a push-up off the ground, and I can't do anything. And so shortly after that, they rushed me back for another surgery. However, unbeknown to me, it was another doctor. And so they do the surgery. He states that he didn't see anything. They opened me back up. He didn't see anything. He didn't do anything. It was just we wanted to do a washout, but there was nothing to wash out. So I'm not entirely sure what was the final determination as to how I ended up paralyzed. What was the actual moment that I ended up paralyzed? But after that second surgery, I just woke up with no feeling from just my top abdomen down. So basically, I'm a T6 paraplegic, and so thoracic 6. So basically, my upper abs, lower chest areas where my sensation starts and stops. Crazy moment. And from that time, it was just that's when everything kind of hit me, and it was like, man, my life really just changed in the blink of an eye. Snap of a finger, it did, whatever. But the doctors are being so positive. They're telling me, hey, look, typically patients get regain feeling within 6 months. We won't know for sure if you can walk, if you'll be able to walk again for another 6 months. But in the meantime, you're in good hands, and you're going to be doing physical therapy and this, that, and the other. Man, that was loaded, but that was a low. That was a new low that I hadn't experienced before, because as much as I wanted to trust the doctors, I didn't know the truth. I didn't know the severity. I didn't know the magnitude of the situation. And especially that time being COVID, we had short visitation hours. I was married at the time, and my wife at the time had a full-time job. She is in the Air Force too. And so she was dealing with, the home stuff, working full time, taking care of the household stuff. And then she would come out when she could and stuff like that. But here I am in a different city away from where I'm from naturally. And I don't have any family or anything like that other than my immediate family, right? So it was just difficult. It was difficult. And then having to deal with, telling your family, my mom, my sisters, my oldest son, Noah, hey, this is what happened. And it happened from one day to another. I don't know what's going on. I didn't even have a full diagnosis at the time.
So you didn't know you were going to be paralyzed.
Not at all.
And so one day you're moving around, a little bit of pain. Mm-hmm. Next day, you can't move your lower extremities.
Nothing. And wow. I mean, like, no matter how much I try, I'm like sitting there like, come on, move, trying to wiggle my toes, can't do any of that. And it was just like, man. And so it's like, boom, that's like rebirth. I feel like that's what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it rebirth right there, because it's like I'm like a baby all over again. I am so reliant and dependent on other people to do anything and everything. I had to relearn how to go to the restroom, peeing, and bowel program. I had to learn how to transfer. I wasn't allowed to transfer on my own, move from the bed to my wheelchair. I had to have someone do it. And then I have those like big hospital wheelchairs that are super bulky, not meant for your body, and they had to bring a cushion in. It was chaos. It was chaos. And I didn't understand the magnitude of the situation, and it took a while to set in. I was stuck at that hospital for a month, and I only did physical therapy twice there. So most of the time I was sitting there, locked in four walls, always having to use a call button for anything that I wanted to do. The only thing I really had to look forward to was visitation and my meals, planning my meals. What am I going to eat for breakfast? What am I going to eat for lunch? What am I going to eat for dinner? It was tough. It was horrible. And and that's it's probably why I hate going to the hospital so much nowadays, because it's, once you're there, it's like you never want to go back. I was like poked everywhere. They put a PICC line in me, which is like an IV, but it goes directly to your heart. So it feels funny. You think it wasn't as painful as I thought it was going to be, but it feels funny because you can feel the little little line moving up to your body and then going. I didn't feel it actually going to my heart, but it feels weird. And that's pretty invasive, and I guess they needed that just in case something crazy happened. And then after that, since I can't control my bowels or my bladder or anything like that, it was like having to relearn how to do that. It's tough. It's embarrassing. It's like, man, how is this, why is this happening to me? How is this happening to me? But I always knew I had to stay strong for my family. I always knew that it was like I couldn't show signs of weakness in that moment because I had people relying on me. I was married. I had my kids. I had my mom who was really worried, my sisters who were really worried, my uncles, my aunts. Everyone was worried. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was worried too, but I had to be strong for them. And so I had to.
Now, why did you have to be strong for everybody when you're the one that's paralyzed?
Because I know how my family is, and I know how they are, and I know that they're going to face challenges at one point in their life too. And all I can do is set an example for them. So I know while they're at home worrying or away from me worrying, or they have their own thought processes and stuff like that, it's like I know that, hey, look, while this is all going on, I still have my mind, and I still have my heart, and I still have everything that made me who I am, except my legs and my core, I guess. But I was like, okay, well, be strong in the face of danger, because, when my kids get older and they experience some of these things, they experience hardships, I want them to revert back to this moment and be like, hey, my dad went through something difficult, but he made it through. And I don't know, ultimately, I feel like I was raised that way. When something goes wrong in life, you just got to keep moving forward. Obstacles are they're inevitable. You can't live a perfect life, lead a perfect life. Something's always going to happen, and you're going to have to find a way through. So it was really just for them. So while it was selfishly for me, I also had to think about the future and think about them. I'm like, okay, no, well, even if I don't know what's going to happen, it's like I can be strong and brave until the very end. If this is in fact where the end is. And thankfully it wasn't. So
like you said, you're reborn.
Yeah, and that's exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so I see you, you always are smiling. You're always in great mood. Besides, you got a great smile, man.
Oh, thank you.
No Diddy, though. No Diddy.
No Diddy.
Where does that resolve come from?
I think just life experiences, and it was just, from a very young age, moving around a lot, having to figure it out. My mom had to do it all on her own, so it was like, okay, cool. I mean, I had a good influence and a good example where it was like, rather than conforming and staying under the radar and not progressing in life, she immigrated here at a very young age. She started her own company. She became an American citizen. I mean, she's done great things, and so it's like I have that to lean on, and then also just going to seeking therapy. Therapy really helped in ways that I hadn't considered before because I just didn't have that knowledge. I didn't have those resources available. So now at that point, it was those two things kind of merged. So it was like having good examples in my life, having overcome challenges and adversity before, whether it was in my personal life, whether it was work, through my deployments. And now it's like, okay, now it's my time. This is my challenge. This is my obstacle. And now I have to find a way forward. And that's exactly what I set out to do. So after that, I was at that hospital for a month. Horrible time. Again, I only did physical therapy 2 times. It was rough. Apparently they had some issues with my insurance. And that really opened my eyes to certain things in the medical field, because I was like, man, like they're not letting me go and move on to physical therapy at another unit. Again, this is during COVID, so the spinal cord clinic at the VA was closed, and I had to go to another outpatient hospital that was going to be paid for by another insurance, and it was just like really messy, and it really honestly, it rubbed me the wrong way because it felt like money was standing in the way of me and my recovery, whatever my recovery was going to look like, which I didn't know at that time. Anyway, I ended up going to an outpatient clinic here in San Antonio, and I learned so much, and it was really good. Such an interesting experience because you have your nursing side, which is the room you stay in, your nurses that help you go to the bathroom, that help you transfer, that are there for your needs, your medication, and everything like that. And then you have your physical therapy and occupational therapy, PT and OT. So physical therapy at the time I was working on transferring. So learning how to transfer by myself using a sliding board. Now I'm at the point where I don't have to use a sliding board, but I would use it if I needed to. And then working on my core, finding my core, learning transfers, whether it be, transfer from bed, like from my chair to my bed, from my chair to the toilet, from if I have a fall from the ground to my chair.
Have you fallen?
Oh, so many times.
Really?
So many times. And I think a lot of people do when they first get hurt, because it's you got to get used to the wheelchair. Each wheelchair is made specifically for your body. People come in and they take measurements, and so every wheelchair is made for you, like for just your body type. And so I had an issue with my brakes before, and they were plastic and they wouldn't stick. And then I was doing a transfer off a curb, and I guess I had too much momentum, and it was on like a rounded curb, or rounded, like kind of, it was a slightly uphill, and yeah, I fell pretty hard and hit the back of my head. I've also fallen from like playing with my son. Like he likes to go up and I'll carry him and we'll just go straight back and just stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's all part of it, You definitely don't want to be falling, but when it does happen, you want to make sure that you're able to do it. And that's the importance of that PT part, where it's like, if you don't know, if you don't learn, it's like, you're gonna make things a lot more difficult for you. And all that stuff is extremely necessary. And stuff with the occupational therapy was just as important too. So while I was doing the occupational therapy, they had like a mock setup of a room, of a kitchen. So I learned how to do laundry, picking up a basket from my wheelchair, being able to prop and position myself, making sure that I have a grabber, or like things are accessible. When it came to cooking, just making sure that I was being safe and I wasn't burning myself. And so it's like, okay, and it's a good confidence booster, because you want to, at the time, you don't know if you're going to be able to do these things again. And once you learn how to do them again, it's like, okay, I can still do this. I'm still me. But I do have like some deficiencies. And, I was there in all, I was in the hospital for around 3 months, maybe just over 3 months. But that was just the beginning, the tip of the iceberg, because when you're in the hospital, you have all the resources available to you. You have medication, you have nurses, there's staff there, help for everything. And then once you go home, that's where the real test starts. It's like, it's just you. And if it's you by yourself, then it's just you by yourself. And if it's you with a support system, then it's you and your support system. And now the struggle isn't just you. The struggle is also for your support system, because they have to learn how to adjust to your life and learn how to help you in ways that you want to be helped. Because there's times where, we want to be independent, or I want to be independent, and I don't want help from anyone, but, they also want to be there to help me and support me and make things easier for me. So it's just a whole learning process for everyone involved. And that's what makes things difficult, which will bring me into one of the statistics that I have later on today. But yeah, I mean, in all, when it comes down to it, it's just, life for everyone, not just me. Life for everyone is full of like ups, downs, challenges, and obstacles. And it's what I've come to learn is, we're not in this together. And sometimes we feel like we're doing this together, but we should have a good community, a good support system where we can, open up and talk about things and maybe just get some help, finding a solution if we can't do it on our own. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is how this has impacted me and kind of shifted my perspective. You guys kind of get my perspective, as far as like, I'm a big believer in, staying positive, finding a way forward, relying on your community and building that up. But some of the changes in my life that came from this were pretty drastic. I could no longer work doing the jobs that I was qualified to work. So obviously couldn't do anything in the military. And then I couldn't work air conditioning anymore. A job that relies on me to go up and down stairs, in and out of attics, rooftops, whatever the case may be. And then, so it was like really frustrating for me at that point. So trying to find a way to make ends meet is really difficult, because it's like, what do I do now? Now I have other things to worry about, like bladder infections and, or going on myself or anything like that. It's just, it puts a wrench in it. And then aside from the mental health struggle that comes with it, it's hard, but you have to find a way to get things done. And, thankfully for me, I do have VA disability, and that takes care of my bills. So I'm just very fortunate. And, that's why I'm doing this, because I feel like while I can do a lot of other things, that I would like to do, like work with my hands, anything. I would love to do anything to work with my hands, construction, air conditioning. I would love to go back to
But there's nothing that really, I'm not going to challenge you, right?
Right.
There's nothing that really stops you from working with your hands, but there are limitations, picking up heavy things, bending over, heat exhaustion. These are things that you and I have talked about. Now,
Yeah. Yeah. So
I don't know all of this, but we've talked about some of these things. So there are ways to,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like
So-
I could go get a job at like Amazon, or just work like at Home Depot, Walmart,
Sure.
just something like that. But it's, I just feel so strongly about talking to people and sharing these experiences with people. And I'm so motivated and inspired by people that I've met along the way that are doing good things. I haven't met too many people in a wheelchair and construction, but I know that they exist. And it also depends on your level of function. So if you're a T12 being lower, so you have most of your core, probably lose sensation around your hips. It's like, yeah, you have more ability and capability, and you don't more than likely you don't deal with things such as autonomic dysreflexia, which is really prominent for T6 and above, which is basically you deal with things like heat exhaustion, sensitivity to other things, and your body starts freaking out on you. You get anxiety, start sweating, your rapid heartbeat, blood pressure goes through the roof, and that stuff is dangerous because it can lead to a stroke. So I just know that I can't be climbing up like a spider monkey anymore to those rafters. And I absolutely, I love that. I love that. I love working my hands, working air conditioning, because it's all a puzzle. Everything's just a puzzle. But no, this is why I got to do this. I got to do this because, I'm really thankful to still be alive. I'm thankful for the experiences that I've had in life and the people that I've met along the way. And this is my time to give back, especially since I just left the hospital a couple weeks ago. I was in the hospital for 4 days. I had an infection. And I was being a dummy, and I waited till the last second to go. But when I was in the hospital and I was like, just thinking and thinking, I had nothing to do but think, nothing but time to think. And I was like, man, yeah, this is why I have to do this, because I know that, there's someone else out there right now in the hospital that just went through a spinal cord injury, and they don't know what's going to happen in their life. They don't know if this is the end of their life. They don't know if they're going to be able to be, a functioning, contributing member of society. And I'm here to tell you yes. And so I'm here to share with you my experiences. What I do like about this era is, like, social media era, is that you see people from all walks of life share their experiences. I'm really touched by the stories of Wheelchair Kev, who's another Air Force veteran, spinal cord patient too. And, he shares his content and stuff like that, and he does things his way. And then you see Carrie Jean, who's another person I admire in the wheelchair community, and being a woman, having to go through her things and things that I didn't even consider or hadn't just never thought about before, from a woman's perspective and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just here to find my role and my niche. And I think my niche is just talking about these problems candidly, just being vulnerable. I have no problem being vulnerable. I used to. But that's one thing that's, I feel like, really helped me progress along the way, because I've been able to do quite a few things since everything kind of went down. I've been able to go to these VA clinics, or like the VA summer sports clinic that was in San Diego, where I got to be with a whole bunch of other wheelchair users, hear their stories, and then, kind of just rub elbows with them and learn how to do things. I've also been able to play wheelchair basketball with people that, aren't from the military. And that's something that I'm not really exposed to, because most of my experience right now, I'm really aligned with, these veteran groups and stuff like that. But learning and talking to people that have been in a wheelchair their whole life, for one reason or another, maybe, they're amputees, or they're this, like, any kind of injury, and talking to them, it helps me too, because I learn things from them that I wouldn't ordinarily learn on my own. I mean, they've been doing this for a lot longer than I have. And so just getting some of that, it's shown me that, like, okay, there's a way forward, and there's always a way to do everything. And, there's people out there going through, experiencing the same things that you are. And you just got to be able to, be vulnerable, open up, and, put yourself out there, network, and, find the right resources, meet the right people, set yourself up for success. Which leads me on to the next part. A big thing I want to focus on for this podcast is reading. Just small excerpts. The book I'm starting off with is a book that I read before I was paralyzed, but really came back and served me and is really beneficial for me while I was recovering in the hospital. And it's called Discipline Equals Freedom. It's a field manual by Jocko Willink. Small book. I like it. The chapters are short excerpts, and they have pictures, and the font is big, so definitely helps me. It's very welcoming and inviting. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And it's really prevalent. This is what I revert back to whenever I'm kind of struggling and stuff like that. So the first chapter says, the way of discipline. People look for the shortcut, the hack. And if you came here looking for that, you won't find it. The shortcut is a lie. The hack doesn't get you there. And if you want to take the easy road, it won't take you where you want to be. Stronger, smarter, faster, healthier, better, free. To reach goals and overcome obstacles and become the best version of you possible will not happen by itself. It will not happen by cutting corners, taking shortcuts, or looking for the easy way. There is no easy way. There is only hard work, late nights, early mornings, practice, rehearsal, repetition, study, sweat, blood, toil, frustration, and discipline. Discipline. There must be discipline. Discipline, the root of all good qualities, the driver of daily execution, the core principle that overcomes laziness and lethargy, and excuses. Discipline defeats the infinite excuse that say, not today, not now, I need a rest, I will do it tomorrow. What's the hack? How do you become stronger, smarter, faster, healthier? How do you become better? How do you achieve true freedom? There is only one way, the way of discipline. That's it. Short chapter from the book, but it's important. And the reason I say like I revert back to this, especially when I'm going through hard times, is because I do get those moments where, especially when I'm not feeling well, and this last time was a really good example of that. I came in and I did the podcast, and I just wasn't feeling well, and I was trying to fake the funk, force it, and just be something that I wasn't, or try to make a show based on someone else's expectations or how other people do it. But I'm not here to do that. And so it's like, okay, cool. All right, now I got to do this. And whenever I'm kind of going through it or feeling like I don't want to do it, I have to do things, and I have to do things the right way. There is no cutting corners. There is no shortcuts. I can't just take a magic pill and pretend everything's going to be okay. I have to take care of myself too. And so it's like, all right, that's the foundation. That's the foundation for me right there. And I gotta do all the right things. Take care of my body, make sure that I'm being, taking care of my hygiene, putting the good things in my body, exercising, stretching. Stretching is really important. Talking to people, making sure that I'm making time to, take care of my personal needs outside of the needs of my children, outside of the needs of my family, and everything else that comes with those things. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's important to share all these things, and I definitely want to welcome or create a community where we can all open up and discuss and share ideas. That's what's really helped me find my confidence, find a way forward, because while I was trying to do things by myself, and I get hard-headed and I try to do things myself, I tend to stumble, and then that stuff becomes discouraging, and then I kind of reel into myself, and I isolate quite a bit, and I don't want to do that anymore. And I feel like when I isolate and I do those things, I end up falling into bad habits, and I'm not here to do that. And thankfully, while I was in the hospital, I started sharing my story and started meeting people, whether it be online or in life, and it really helped me. And I was like, yeah, this is what I have to do. And so I have to create a community, a place where we can have the discussion and share ideas, and hopefully help each other get forward and overcome obstacles. Because even if you're not dealing with this yourself personally, you may know someone. And a lot of this stuff isn't just we're here to learn something new every day. A lot of this stuff is stuff that we already know, but we just need to hear again. And sometimes we get caught up and in our own emotions and our own feelings, and we get sidetracked. But having that community, that friend to check in and be like, hey man, is everything okay? You haven't been yourself, this, that, the other. And then you open up and they're like, hey, well, I know of this person, I know of this company, I know, have you tried doing this? Maybe you should try this. These conversations are important. And
they're very important.
Yeah.
And it's important to open up this venue, in your case, podcasting, to do this. So why podcasting?
I'd like to start off with podcasting because I feel like it's where I can reach the most masses right now. I'm not doing any public speaking yet. It's something that I definitely have to work on, especially now. You're going to see me. Yeah. I have to work on even just doing this. I'm not perfect. I'm very raw. I'm very new to this. I don't have a guide. I'm just going. But podcasting, or just making videos in general, I think is the route that fits me the best, because the community that I've been able to build, stretches all over the world. I have friends in Europe. I have friends, Latin America, Far East Asia, India, Australia, like that. And it's the best way. I can't just call them every day. I can't, head over all the time and talk to them. And it's a way that I can keep in touch with them, and they can keep in touch with me, and we can just, keep working towards a better future, in our personal lives, but together.
All right, cool.
Yeah. And the last thing, I'd like to say is, I'm inviting everyone to connect, whether you have a spinal cord injury or not, whether you have any kind of ailment or not, we're all better together. We're all in this together. Life doesn't come with a set of instructions. And, whether my circumstances, help bring or shed some light for anything spinal cord related or not, handicap related or not, it's that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to, just be vulnerable and open with you guys and invite you guys into my world. I'm also hoping that, if you guys have any suggestions or any input, that would be lovely. I'm here for you guys just as much as you guys have been here for me.
So before we wrap up, what can we expect from your podcast?
All right. So for me, like on a personal level, I'm going to be sharing with you things that happen in my daily life. I'm going to share with you how I get around, how I drive, how I deal with, playing sports, how I deal with being a dad. I have a 4-year-old son, my youngest son. I also have a 15-year-old. I know, a big gap. And just sharing that with the world. And ideally, I would love to reach someone or anyone or people in the hospital kind of going through this and that don't know what their life may look like moving forward. So it's like I'm here to share with you my experiences, but also share the importance of community, because every event that I've gone to and experienced, whether it be the Winter Clinic up in Colorado, Summer Sports Clinic in San Diego, the wheelchair games this year were in New Orleans, or anything that anyone is doing like outside of the military, just share these experiences and show that, hey, look, it takes a village to get these types of things done. There's a huge community behind everything, and it comes with support. So there has to be collaboration. There's collaboration in everything, and you're not going to find collaboration sitting in your room, inside those 4 walls, not getting out and meeting people. And I understand that sometimes it's difficult because we don't have those resources to, whether it's hygiene resources, catheters to go to the bathroom while we're outside, chuck pads, in case we go to the bathroom and, we want to be a little clean, or, we have pressure sores or any kind of ailment. So if I can show you that there's a path forward and show you what helped me get there with the community that I have or that we're building, or the community that's available to everyone for these programs, I mean, that's my main goal, just to open those doors, those windows of opportunity for everyone, and show that there are programs and people out there that can help you, just like they've helped me. And that's the main mission here.
Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this one compared to your last podcast?
Oh, man, this one, I feel like I just flowed, and I was just being just like, I wasn't really, I was looking at my notes and stuff like that, but I wasn't so hyper focused on it being like, oh, I can't say, I can't fumble a word, I can't stagnate, I got to start all over. No, it's like.
What do you want to share with the people on the way out the door?
Okay, I'm going to read some statistics that I feel like are important. All right, and so I'm going to share here are statistics for spinal cord injuries only in America and global, and some of the complications that come with this. So in America, approximately new cases of 17,000 new spinal cord injuries occur each year in the United States. That's a lot. Globally, that's 250,000 to 500,000 a year. That's a lot. And so what we're talking about here is people's lives changing from one day to another. We're not talking like, hey, you get a 2-week notice, this is what's going to happen. Your life changes like that. And if you're not prepared, if you don't have insurance, if you don't have the savings, if you don't have anything like that, it may feel like your world is ending. It may feel like those walls are closing in. You're not going to be able to find a way forward, but you can and you will, and you're going to do that. There's complications that we're going to have to face. Within the first year, it's reported that it can range. The cost for a spinal cord injury can be anywhere from $350,000 to $500,000 within the first year, medical expenses and all that stuff. Then you're also dealing with future medical issues, pressure sores. I, for example, had heterotopic ossification, which is a bone growth that I got in my hip, and it can happen anywhere on your body. That I had to have like serious medical intervention for that. As far as like joint issues with your shoulders, with your feet, I lose toenails all the time. And then divorce rates. Unfortunately, my last relationship ended in a divorce too. I mean, there's like big implications that come with this. And it, like, again, at the time, it feels like, man, like, why? Like, this sucks. And it does suck, but you know, that's not the end of the road. You know, there's a way forward, and there's always going to be a way forward. And so I ask that everyone join in and welcome have this discussion, join the conversation. Let's figure this out together. Let's find a way forward and open up windows and opportunities for everyone. But with that said, I am going to close the show. If you're not already following me, please shoot me a follow on X and Instagram at _Kevin_IO, and I will also be posting these on YouTube. Thank you for joining, and I look forward to our next conversation.